Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're literally pulling back the curtain on a multi-billion-dollar machine that completely shapes your daily life, probably without you even realizing it. We're going to reveal exactly how brands capture our attention, shape our perceptions, and ultimately drive our buying decisions. We're diving deep into the hidden machinery of advertising and public relations that operates all around us every single day. To really understand this machinery, we first have to recognize the wild environment it operates in. Think about it for a second. From the literal moment we wake up and check our phones to the second we turn off the TV at night, we are constantly bombarded with content. I mean, ads are sandwiched into nearly 20 minutes of non-program material per primetime television hour alone. Which raises the ultimate marketing question. In an increasingly hostile, incredibly cluttered environment, how do companies actually cut through the noise and get you to care?
To put that crazy level of clutter into perspective, Americans are exposed to a staggering 5.3 trillion online ad impressions every single year. Let that sink in. Add to that a daily diet of 500 million tweets, 95 million photos shared on Instagram, and over 4 billion pieces of shared content on Facebook. That is the sheer massive wall of noise that brands are up against.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the advertising playbook.
Because, let's be real, just throwing money at the wall to see what sticks? Yeah, that doesn't work anymore in this intense environment. Take Kraft Heinz, for example. After years of ruthless cost-cutting, they realized they urgently needed to breathe new life into their brands. So they completely shifted to a strategy they called customer obsession. And they put their money where their mouth was, pumping a massive $100 million increase into their ad spending in just a single year, mostly targeting digital. But the real game changer wasn't just the cash. It was the strategic shift to deeply listen to customers and figure out why they actually buy.
You see, that kind of strategic spending is always driven by very specific objectives. If you're launching a brand new product, you're going to lean on informative advertising to introduce it to the world and build that initial awareness. But as soon as the competition heats up, marketers pivot. They switch to persuasive advertising to build selective demand, basically proving they're way better than the alternatives. And for those mature household name products, that's where reminder advertising comes in. It just maintains the relationship and keeps the product top of mind.
Which brings us to Section 2, crafting the perfect message.
Once a brand knows its exact objective, it has to develop a compelling big idea. This is how they emotionally hook you, and they bring these big ideas to life using very specific execution styles. Instead of just boring you with facts, they set a distinct tone. You might see a slice of life showing everyday relatable moments, or maybe a musical format with a catchy hook that gets stuck in your head. Or they might lean entirely on scientific evidence or a big celebrity endorsement. It's all about choosing the absolute perfect format to make that idea stick in your brain. A perfect example of this? Volkswagen's The Last Mile campaign. To bid farewell to the iconic Beetle after more than 8 decades, they used this beautiful animated clip. They merged a nostalgic mood and image style with a musical execution, setting the whole thing to the Beatles' classic Let It Be. They even wove in personality symbols like Andy Warhol. It was this incredibly emotional tribute that made saying goodbye to a piece of metal feel like saying goodbye to a beloved family member. On the flip side, Hyundai took a totally different but equally brilliant approach for their famous Super Bowl ad. They flawlessly combined the slice of lifestyle with major celebrity endorsement. They had these A-list celebrities with thick Boston accents dealing with the very relatable, very annoying problem of parking in a tight spot. It perfectly highlighted their high-tech remote parking feature. It was hilarious, it was memorable, and it flawlessly executed the message while keeping us completely entertained.
But none of that matters without Section 3, mastering media selection.
Because even the absolute best ad is entirely useless if it's playing in an empty room, right? You have to put the message exactly where your audience is already looking. It's basically a precise 4-step dance. First, figure out your reach and frequency, how many eyeballs you need and how often. Then, pick your major media type, like TV or social. Next, you drill down into specific vehicles, maybe a hit primetime show or a super niche YouTube channel. And finally, you lock in the exact timing to hit them when they're most receptive. And to fight that massive wave of 5.3 trillion impressions we talked about earlier, brands are getting sneaky. They're increasingly bypassing traditional commercial breaks altogether and relying heavily on native advertising. This is brand-produced content that looks and acts exactly like the natural content surrounding it. It blends so seamlessly into the social feeds you're scrolling through that you might not even realize you're being marketed to until you're already engaged.
But sometimes, paid advertising just isn't the right tool for the job.
That is exactly when brands pivot to Section 4, the power of PR.
With public relations, instead of buying your attention, they try to earn it. PR relies on generating real news stories, hosting special events, and engaging in public affairs. If a company can develop a genuinely interesting story, it gets picked up organically by the news media. This allows a brand to make a massive impact on public awareness for a fraction of the cost of an ad campaign and almost always with way more credibility.
Yet, despite being highly credible and super cost-effective, PR is pretty often treated as the marketing stepchild. Because it's sometimes scattered across different departments, it doesn't always get the giant budgets or the rigorous planning of paid ad buys. But when PR and advertising actually work hand in hand, the results are absolutely phenomenal. Let's look at a real-world example of how this builds trust. Take Yes Straws, a company making biodegradable straws to fight plastic pollution. If they just spammed paid ads claiming to save the environment, you'd probably roll your eyes, right? But by using PR to forge an organic, real-world partnership with a massive brand like Hilton Hotels, Yes Straws creates authentic goodwill. That is structural credibility that no ad budget could ever just buy outright.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, Section 5, measuring campaign impact. At the end of the day, every marketing department has to face the numbers and prove the return on advertising investment. They rigorously measure communication effects to make sure the message actually landed, and they compare sales spikes directly to their ad spending. But the ultimate scorecard? That's calculating the exact cost required to reach 1,000 viewers, a super crucial metric known in the biz as CPM, or cost per thousand. Just look at this real television data. It illustrates this perfectly. A massive hit show like This Is Us pulls in over 9 million viewers. But reaching the highly coveted 18 to 49 demographic on that show costs a whopping $238 per 1,000 people. Meanwhile, a show like The Bachelor has a way smaller total audience, but it is so highly concentrated in that younger demographic that the cost drops to just $86. If that younger crowd is your target, The Bachelor is a vastly smarter, way more efficient buy.
And when a brand successfully aligns their strategic goals, their creative message, and this kind of pinpoint media selection, the results are literally undeniable. Remember that hilarious Hyundai Super Bowl ad? Following that perfectly targeted campaign, traffic for Hyundai on the car shopping site Edmunds experienced a staggering, nearly 7,000% lift. That is the sheer power of this machinery operating at absolute peak efficiency.
So as we wrap up this explainer and you head back out into the endless clutter of your daily social media feeds, your TV shows, and your search results, I want you to look closely. Look past the big celebrities and the catchy music of the very next ad you see. Ask yourself, what exactly are they trying to do to you? Are they trying to inform, persuade, or simply remind? Because once you see this hidden machinery, you can never, ever unsee it. The real question is, now that you know exactly how the game is played, will you still let them win?